he was the big bull, but he was also the big bear in the initial part of his journey. During the Harshad Mehta days, he was the big bear. And when he was trading, so he was simultaneously trading and simultaneously investing. So in his trading activities, he switched between bullishness and bearishness at will on both of those, Titan and DHFL. Um, but it again illustrates this contradiction in the man.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to put it, Neil. So as an investor, right? So since I haven't really tracked a lot of his trading bets, since I'm a investor myself, I was more interested towards the investment side of it, right? As an investor, of course, the point that I'm going to talk about is something that I believe most of us relate to RJ on that front. So, two things, in fact, the number one thing was the ability to see very far in the future, to see the runway or the scope of the particular company or the sector. And number two was, of course, the conviction with which he held the stocks, right? Now, of course, if I have to talk about two examples, it would be Titan and THFL. So, surprisingly, ironically, in both the cases, RJ saw the scope of the company. He had a lot of conviction. He hadn't really met the promoters before buying the stock, but he had met them after buying the stock, and he was quite bullish on both the stocks. But in the instance of Titan, it worked out really great for him, really exceptionally well for him. In fact, one third or one fourth of his net worth, one third or even greater than that of his net worth today comes from just Titan, right? And we all know what happened with DHFL. So, like Neil said, he was a man of contradiction because he hadn't really done any research for both of these stocks. In fact, we write in the book as well, how Titan actually came to him. It was through a broker called Daki. So yeah, I mean, it also shows you the role of luck in your investment bets, right? Like Warren Buffett also very famously says that, if you have a portfolio of 10, 15 stocks, some of them are going to create exceptional wealth for you, some of them are going to go bust. And, we have a live example in front of us. Now, if I talk about conviction, RJ again in a Capital Ideas conference, he had talked about his Titan position, and he had when he was questioned about his conviction on Titan, when 2008 happened, the stock halved. So Rakesh, Mr. Jhunjhunwala said that he had in fact bought more during that time. So that also shows his conviction on a particular company and the vision that he really subscribed to when he invests in a particular company. Now, coming to as a person, I mean, I believe that all of us knew him very well as a person because, he was quite unfiltered with his thoughts. He did what he liked. I still remember that very famous interview where, he was chatting with, I think, some CNBC anchor, and while on air, he called up his broker and he's like, "Ha, Kalpesh bej de." So that was uh, that was quite a funny episode, but it actually gave you a sneak peek into into what kind of a person he was. And of course, we have seen a lot of videos of his, where he was really enjoying his life. I still remember that birthday video of his where he was on a wheelchair, but he was still having a good time. So I would say that he was a very jolly person. He was a very good person from all the instances that have been told before. He liked that everyone should make money. In fact, when Mr. Nilesh Shah had come to our book launch event in Bombay, he had talked about how he had donated money to a few students as well. He had supported a few causes as well. So definitely a very good person, a very conscious person, but at the same time, a person who was always unfiltered. He did not give a damn where he was, and he always spoke his mind.
Right. I've just muted everyone. Again, I think someone just by mistake got unmute. So I've again unmuted Neil, Aditya, and Aprajita. I'm also doing that for you. Okay. Yeah. So now I'll just ask a follow-up to Neil over here. So you mentioned about Rakesh also being RJ, also being a big bear, just like he was a big bull. He was also a big bear during the Harshad Mehta time. So I remember it's there in your book as well, where you mentioned that he was almost on the verge of bankruptcy during that time. However, his close friend Rakesh Damani denied that. So what is your views over here? Is Damaniji is right over here, or what you think is right? I was confused when I read that portion in your book. And I'm curious, and I'm sure many of us would be curious to know about that. Yeah, Neil?
Yeah, sorry, I had just unmuted. I had muted myself because there was some noise in my background.
Okay.
So you're right. It is difficult to piece together because the trades at that time, in fact, the trades at any time in his life were not really public. The way that his portfolio has been pieced together is because if your holding in any company exceeds 1%, then your name comes in the list of shareholders. And that's how all of these websites put together people's portfolios. So there's no real authoritative way of figuring out just how close he was to bankruptcy in those crucial days. And so I think on the balance, you would have to take the word of somebody like Ramesh Damani, who has known him throughout the 90s and beyond. Um, Happy for Aditya or Aprajita to add to that.
See, so we haven't spoken to Jhunjhunwala or the money, so we we cannot really comment on authenticity of it. But obviously, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala did go on record saying that had that episode continued for another 2-3 days, they would have definitely gone bankrupt. So it's on record by Rakesh Jhunjhunwala himself. So exactly, that is exactly what happened. And if that SBI receipt, the scam that Sucheta Dalal broke, had it not happened in April, they would have really lost it in the game, in bear versus bull fight that was going on. So that's what I believe.
Aditya, I've unmuted you. You may speak
Yeah,
now.
so I think I just wanted to add that itself, how that episode that was depicted in Scam 1992 as well, and that's about it. I mean,
I
nothing
think
else to add.
You mentioned, Prajita, that you have not met RJ and Damani. Of course, you cannot meet RJ now, but Damani ji also. So, whom did you meet personally for writing this?
We cannot. So people who went on record. So Shankar Sharma, Sameer Arora, and a couple of people who went off record. So I cannot name them. And then Ramesh Damani. We did not meet Radhakishan Damani, but we did meet Ramesh Damani. So these are and also Neil, can you recall any other who went on record about it? Sameer Arora, Rakesh. Yeah, so mostly all people,
Sorry, so
mostly all.
there is some confusion here, Ankit. I was talking about Ramesh Damani, not Radhakrishnan. Aprajita thought that we were talking about Radhakrishnan Damani, not so we didn't meet him. We met Ramesh Damani.
Okay, okay. Got it. Yeah, so Ramesh Damani we did meet, right?
Yeah, great. So, so I'm assuming that you must have met a lot of other people also, but they have not.
Exactly. Brokers and dealers he worked with,
Okay.
ex-employees, yeah, his couple of friends who spoke to us off record. So some people from close circles did speak to us, but off record.